Hello and welcome to a grey but slightly warming evening here in Nova Scotia, and welcome to my channel, The Optimistic Gardener. My name is Steve Farley. So today I'm planting an apple tree. It's not a very big apple tree, but it's going to go towards my collection of I've got 4 apple trees so far, so this would be number 5. Fairly simple operation. I've dug the hole already, as you can see. And before I start the actual planting it, I thought I'd give you a quick look of my apple trees I've got so far and how they're doing.
So this one is a Liberty apple, and this is on a M109 rootstock, which is basically a semi-dwarf, and this is nicely coming into leaf now, and in fact actually not long before it starts to flower, so that's good. That's come on quite well in the last year. And then we've got 1, 2 sweet 16, no, check there, sorry, 2 Honeycrisp. And as we walk towards the secret garden through the very posh stone planters now, at the end here we have a sweet 16, which is just now coming into leaf. So this sweet 16 is on a M106, which is another semi-dwarf. So they're all semi-dwarf rootstocks.
So when you go to actually buy your apple tree, you'll be assailed by all these different codes and letters, M109, M106, all the way up to Antonovka, I think it is, and Antonovka rootstock. And all that basically is starting down at a dwarf rootstock. It will go all the way up to the Antonovka rootstock, which is basically a massive large apple tree that will grow to 25 feet. And your dwarf ones will normally go to around 10-12 foot if you let them, but they're good for different situations. Your dwarf rootstock you can even grow in an actual container. This is a semi-dwarf, which I'm hoping will go up to around 15-18 feet. As I said, this is a, what did I say it was? This is a Honeycrisp, because I like a Honeycrisp apple. And all my other ones, as I've said, are semi-dwarf, and I'm hoping they'll get to a nice height, because that will look nice in my orchard look that I'm trying to accomplish. And then obviously, if you've looked at my other orchard films, I'll be growing different types of apples as well. Apples that are just growing along the ground, cordon apples, all sorts of different types of apples. But this one I'm hoping to get to, 15 foot, a nice good size apple tree. And if you go to buy your apple tree, you just think about the size, the space that you've got. If only a small space, you'll just go for a dwarf or a semi-dwarf. If you want a great big apple tree, then you'll go to the Antonovka. And they've also got these different types of rootstocks. They've also got different characteristics as well as the size that they grow. They might be better in freezing conditions, or in not so cold conditions. Different rootstocks again. So just have a good look at the label, and it will tell you whether it's good in cold weather or not so cold weather, big or small. So like I said, this one's a semi-dwarf, so I'm going to plant this now. I did have a tree in here already, but it never actually got through coming out the winter, I don't think. So I've already I had prepared this earth before, but I wouldn't really, other than sort of digging it out and making sure there's no loads of rocks, I wouldn't put loads of compost in here anyway, because you want the roots, you want to encourage the tree to set its roots out looking for food and water, so that it'll set a good sturdy root system that'll help the plant in going through in the future. as it grows up. So let's get on with the actual planting. So we want the so this was basically from a mail order. So this was a bare rootstock plant. Just I can see some actual leaves coming through here. So I'll empty this out. It won't have much in here. So we want to make sure that we plant it so that it is obviously all the roots are covered. So you're not covering the graft. So like I said before, this is a Honeycrisp apple that is grafted onto a semi-dwarf rootstock, and all the grafting means is they've done some sort of Frankenstein surgery and sliced the Honeycrisp apple and taped it to this semi-dwarf rootstock, and that's what's going to give it its growing characteristic. So we don't want to cover all the way up past the graft line. So I want it to grow to about here. So I'm going to cover it about that far. Let's try that out. That's a bit too much. That looks about right. Got a bit of a port list on this apple, so we want it to grow up straight. So that's good. Make sure that it's all nice and firm around the roots of the apple as you plant it in and put the earth in. We don't want any air pockets. This earth is nice and damp because as this spring has been, we've had lots of rain recently, so I'm happy with that. Got some more earth here. There we go. It's as simple as that, really. I'll probably put a bit more earth in. Heel this in a little bit. What I want to do is put a little bit of a ring around it, a little indentation, so that water will naturally, at the moment anyway, settle around and not run off like. So I'll give this a good drink. So the last thing to do here is to give it a good mulch. And as I've said before, and there should be a card coming up on the benefits of mulching, and I'm always eulogising the benefits of mulching. Give it a good mulch, and then, like I said before, you want to give your apple tree the best conditions it can and the best start it can to get itself settled. And by putting a mulch down, you'll keep the roots nice and cool as it's settling in. You'll trap the moisture in around the plant itself, the tree itself, and you'll also discourage any, you'll block out the light, so you'll have not very many weeds coming through at all, and that's always a good thing. You want to, again, it doesn't want to be fighting with grass and weeds for water and nutrients in its young life. You want to give it the best start, so a good mulch. And I'm using leaf mould here because I haven't got any seaweed today. So a good couple of feet around the tree itself. And then as the roots come out there, they're not going to be fighting with anything. They'll all be nice and moist underneath there, and they'll be getting all the nutrients they want. They won't be fighting any grass or roots, and any stuff that does come out, you can just whip it out easily. So there we go. Job's a good one. So let's monitor. So I'll monitor this over the next few months. So I'll be giving it a good water every day for the next couple of weeks, unless it's been raining, and then I'll gradually cut down the watering so that it can fend for itself after a month or so. But obviously, if you have a really extended dry period, give it a helping hand and give it some water in those circumstances. But the ground's good. Got a nice blanket over it to keep it nice and moist, and hopefully it will catch up with my other apple trees very soon, and I'll be enjoying Honeycrisp in 3 or 4 years. So on to the next job.